Using an indoor trainer used to be something most cyclists would dread. The thought of spending even mere minutes pedaling away with no real goal and no interactivity made it something only those with a penchant for suffering could honestly say that they enjoyed. Thankfully though, those days are well and truly behind us. The advent of relatively affordable smart trainer technology and interactive indoor cycling apps has truly been a game changer, meaning indoor training is more effective, more fun, and more accessible than ever before. However, with so many options on the market now, it can be hard to know what type of smart trainer is best for you and what extra features are actually worth paying for. Luckily, I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about buying a smart trainer. But before we go any further, a big thanks to our sponsors Zwift for their help in making this video happen. And as always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful and subscribe to our wonderful channel for more videos like this in the future. Smart trainers are interactive turbo trainers which connect to indoor cycling apps to control the trainer's resistance and replicate hills, headwinds and drafting effects inside virtual worlds. These apps can also guide you through power-based interval workouts, adjusting the resistance automatically to keep your power output in the required zone. Practically all modern smart trainers communicate wirelessly with devices such as smartphones, tablets and computers via Bluetooth or ANT+. Some of the latest high-end models now also offer Wi-Fi connectivity or the option to use a hardwired Ethernet connection. But we'll talk more about why these might be useful features later in the video. It sounds complicated, but in practice it's usually very simple. Most smart trainers and apps will search for and connect to each other with a click of a button. There are two main types of smart trainer, wheel-on and direct drive, and I'm going to talk you through the pros and cons of each. Wheel-on smart trainers function like classic dumb turbo trainers. You clamp the rear axle into a support while your rear wheel rests on a roller drum. The drum is connected to a resistance unit that communicates with your chosen hardware and app to control the resistance you feel through the wheel. Wheel-on trainers are typically cheaper and lighter than direct drive trainers, making them slightly easier to live with at home. While a wheel-on smart trainer will still offer variable resistance to offer power-based training and gradient simulation, they can cause wear on your tires, and their power measurement is generally less accurate than direct drive trainers. This is also usually the noisiest type of indoor trainer, and most also have relatively small and lightweight flywheels, which means the ride feel tends not to be as realistic either. However, if you're on a tight budget, a wheel-on smart trainer offers the cheaper route into the world of smart trainers. And what about direct drive trainers? Well, a direct drive trainer requires you to remove the rear wheel and connect your bike to the trainer via a standard cassette mounted to the trainer itself. Direct drive smart trainers are typically heavier and more expensive than wheel-on trainers, but prices are getting more competitive and they do have a number of advantages. Outside of the obvious one, a lack of wear on your rear tyre, they also tend to be quieter and offer a more realistic road-like ride feel thanks to the use of larger, heavier flywheels and more powerful resistance units. They also usually offer much better specs and improved power measurement accuracy compared to wheel-on trainers. If you want to learn more about whether a wheel-on or direct drive trainer is right for your home Zwift setup, subscribe to the channel because we've got a full video on the subject coming very soon. Let's take a look at 5 things you need to look for when buying a smart trainer. As ever, your budget is a key consideration. As with most things, how much you have to spend will ultimately dictate what kind of smart trainer you get. But it's certainly possible to put together a good indoor cycling setup on a tight budget. Smart trainers at the lower end of the price scale tend to compromise on things such as ride feel, power accuracy, and noise levels, but should still offer an immersive experience. High maximum outputs or leg-breakingly steep gradients are nice to have, but are far from essential, so don't be swayed by on-paper spec alone. Do you really need a trainer capable of simulating a 25% gradient or handling a 2000 watt sprint? Maybe you do, but I know I don't. If you've got lots of money to spend, then, as usual, you'll have far more options to choose from. In our experience, the biggest leap in performance comes around the £450 or $500 mark, where direct drive models start to appear. The ride feel, noise levels, and power accuracy all typically take a big step here. We'll cover each of these points in more detail later in the video. Beyond this point, you're mostly seeing marginal gains or features that are aimed at dedicated indoor training enthusiasts and virtual racers. Now we're going to consider a key part of most smart trainers, the flywheel. As with non-smart or dumb trainers, smart trainers also usually have a flywheel. These help to create a road-like feel due to the kinetic energy they're able to store and the resultant inertia they give. Essentially, when you stop pedaling, it should feel like you're coasting on a real road. Broadly speaking, the heavier the flywheel, the better the ride feel ought to be, although this isn't always the case. Construction, materials, and design all play a role, and some brands have even switched to using virtual flywheels, which use magnets as opposed to a physical flywheel. Although more expensive, virtual flywheels have the advantage of being able to change the level of inertia depending on the virtual terrain. So, climbing should feel different to riding on the flat, just like in the real world. If you've got a dedicated training space, it may not matter at all how big and heavy your trainer is. Once you've got the trainer set up, you may be able to leave it in its place in your garage, shed, or spare room. But if you have to set it up and pack it down before and after every session, then you'll also need to take this into consideration. If this is you, look for a model that has a carry handle, and if you need to store it in a compact space, opt for a model with folding legs. This may mean spending a little more, as budget options often don't allow for the trainer to be folded down without completely detaching the supporting legs. As already mentioned, wheel-on trainers tend to be the lightest and most packable. On the other hand, direct drive trainers tend to be much bulkier. Though size and shape can vary wildly, with some models folding up to a very slim form, they tend all to be pretty heavy regardless. While this added weight does mean moving these trainers around is difficult, it also makes for a better and more stable pedaling platform, which is very useful when doing sprints or hard efforts. In contrast, lighter wheel-on smart trainers are typically less stable under load, making them less suited for doing all-out efforts. Trainers have different maximum power figures that correspond to the amount of resistance they're able to generate. They typically range from around 800 watts to over 2,500 watts. 1,500 watts should be plenty for most people, and 2,000 watt models ought to be enough for practically everyone except professional sprinters. The gradient figures relate to the maximum incline a trainer can simulate, given in percent, just like on the road. Once again, more expensive trainers will typically offer a higher gradient simulation. For example, while a mid-range direct drive trainer may offer a maximum gradient resistance of 16%, some top-end models offer simulation up to 12%. However, a lower figure isn't going to hinder your training. It simply means those trainers won't be able to simulate the virtual world perfectly whenever the gradients go beyond what the trainer is capable of. Many indoor cycling apps, like Zwift, also set the trainer difficulty level to 50% automatically. So, a 10% in-app gradient will feel like 5% on your smart trainer. With this in mind, unless you're planning to change the app's difficulty setting, this may mean you don't need as high a spec as you think. Indoor trainers used to be notoriously noisy, but there have been vast improvements made over the past few years. If you want to do interval training sessions inside your home while being mindful of those you live with, then a quiet smart trainer is a must. In general, wheel-on trainers are still typically much louder than direct drive trainers. The gap has narrowed somewhat in recent years, and there are still a few variables, such as what tyres you're using, how hard you're riding, and what surface the trainer is placed on, which can make a difference to how loud a wheel-on trainer is in practice. In contrast, direct drive smart trainers are typically the quietest, with with some top-end models being so quiet that the sound from your drivetrain becomes the main source of noise. For both types of trainer, noise levels tend to increase as your power output and the flywheel speed go up, but it very much depends on the exact model in question. All things considered, if noise is an issue for you, we'd recommend a direct drive trainer. If you want to watch reviews of some of the key smart trainers on the market today, which includes noise testing, click the link in the video description or the card above. That's just about everything you need to know about smart trainers. Ultimately, choosing the best smart trainer for you is a case of balancing your budget with the space you have available and the specs you need. Fortunately, there are lots of excellent options at a wide range of prices today. On that note, if you want to learn more about specific models, head to BikeRadar.com, where you'll be able to read all of our in-depth smart trainer reviews. We've also included links to some of our favourite smart trainers in the description below. Another thank you to our sponsor Zwift for helping to make this video happen. And if you're interested in finding out what the best smart trainers on the market are today, why not watch this next video?